she's not into football at all. She's obviously from an entertainment, singing and dancing background, so to just emphasise how not into sports she is, she did actually support Man United as a child. Um, so that's how clueless she is on football.
Really surprised you managed it, to be honest.
I know. Boom. So this is it. This is episode 2 of Referees the Final Whistle with Ant, Martin, and Nathan. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Good. Thanks for all your hard work on this. Both of you, it's been really good. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the feedback that we've all gotten from our 3 various outlets on social media have just been phenomenal. Just
Yes.
Martin, I've screenshotted you that comment from YouTube, the one where the guy was saying he's now joined Ref Support UK. It's got people interested. It's got people talking. I'm absolutely made up with the traction this has got. I was just talking to you guys just before we went live, saying on all platforms in just over a week, 4,000 views, which no hype, no promo. I'm super proud of what we've managed in such a short time.
Really good, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something. It's amazing how those South boys who have done their podcast jumped on it and they said this is great. It's something they've been looking at. So it's great that we can put it out as an audio podcast as well as a vlog like this. And it's so many people have said, it is what they liked about getting together with referees, be it an RA meeting or a county FA meeting, is the half-time break when everyone mixes in and has a chat and having a pint afterwards. And I think we've sort of sat this in that having a pint afterwards, open discussion that, some of it might be a little bit near the bone, but it's what we would do over a pint after the game, like. So that's what I think we sit this nicely.
Yeah, definitely. I really agree with that. I think it's, a lot of people probably think about, what is their viewpoint and what is their perspective on certain things and what are their experiences ultimately. And I'm sure that's probably the questions that the South people were asking, and obviously it's great that we've been able to feed that little thought that they've obviously been having, and it's worked really well for them to have it as an audio podcast.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's good. Did you guys see the Jeff Winter post about his wife?
Oh, yeah.
It was so like thoughtful, from our point of view, thinking about him. For me, it must have been such a difficult post to post about losing his wife and someone as experienced in this Jeff Winter. We had to sort of do a tweet and we shared it. We put it on our page and on our Facebook page, and all the guys would send some really lovely messages on the page. So I'm going to screenshot them and send them on a message to Jeff because he's not on our page. But
yeah,
it was a sad. Yeah.
I'll do the same here. I'll put the tweet on. I did see that. Unfortunately, that Jeff had lost his wife recently, and how horrible that is, and how much support that the referee and in the football community actually gave to him there. That's it's so sad to have seen that.
There's something in our game, Nate, isn't it? Where you seem to be, once you're a ref and you've gone out there and done the bit, you do have this sort of community. Even when you leave it, people sort of look you behind you and still drop in. And I think it's something that's quite unique. I'm sure players do it as well, but from this sort of community of referees, I think, you never really truly leave it, do you?
Yeah. And I think that I know that obviously he's based on Teesside, so not too far away from me. And I know that he does a lot of work in terms of after dinner speaking and talking at various events. And he's very, very well connected in grassroots game in the Northeast area. And I know that they go down very well. Obviously, he's sort of anecdotes, if you will, and those kind of stories that he's got to tell. And within a refereeing career, we all know that, you get a lot of stories, don't you? And you've got plenty to say. But, I just think about any referee, really. When you see referees getting interviewed at the things like just before the FA Cup final, they sometimes get an interview and say, look, this is the pinnacle of your career. And I think one of the messages that you get from every single referee that actually gets the honour of doing it is they always say, you know, I couldn't have done it without the support of my wife and my kids. It's been unbelievable. And I think that, you know, what they talk about is those nights where you're on the road and midweek games and long journeys and things like that, where, you know, the family have kept everything going on at home and kept it really, really sort of normal. And then if you've had a really bad night and it's, you know, it's been a bad night, midweek night, when you do get home at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, the fact that they're there for you and they give you that support, and you know, you might have had a long, you know, car journey where you've been tearing your hair out thinking about mistakes and they didn't go well and things like that, and then they create that warmth when you get home. So I think that the family of any referee, particularly at the top level, like Jeff was at, where you're doing cup finals and you get to the absolute pinnacle, I think it's crucial to have a wonderful support around you, because it really is part of your success. I don't think you can do it without that fantastic support base.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I've seen it many times where I've been a line out to a ref in a car, and some of the first phone calls they make, some of them are sort of mates, and they go on and moan about the assessor. But a vast majority, the first people who are checking in with the wife or the girlfriend or the mother of the kids, and it's always, oh, just so you know, love, I'm just leaving now. And even a real close friend of ours called Eddie Hughes, who's president of Western Supermare RA, but he still keeps in touch with us. Even leaving the meeting, I don't know, Amy, I used to always give him a lift, or sometimes he'd give me one. The first person he saw, I'm just leaving. He was only literally 6 minutes away from home, but he knew that if he phoned his wife, she'd be worried about him that something happened. And I think it is so crucial to recognise that, having that family, you know, husbands, wives, whatever. It is crucial. We are a big part of the journey, and it's nice when you climb the ladder and you can take them to a game, to these nice grounds, or a cup final, the county appointments, and just give a little bit of thank you back to them. And it's, you know, it was sad to see that about Jeff, I must admit.
Yeah.
And your wife, has she been interested in how you ref and all that, and being sort of the soundboard to moan at when you come back?
Well, mine, I've never had a bad game in my life, so she never.
Well, clearly.
But no, absolutely. She's not into football at all. She's obviously from an entertainment, singing and dancing background, so. To just emphasize how not into sports she is, she did actually support Man United as a child. So that's how clueless she is on football.
Manager, to be honest.
I know, but absolutely. Going back, I get excited about big fixtures coming up. If I'm going to like Liverpool Academy or going off to do like a Man City youth game or something like that, I get really excited, and I kind of put that on her, and she's like an excited child. She goes, yeah, she totally like kind of encourages that. And when like shit does happen, like I remember the seasons have gone all weird in my head, but it was the end of last season, so the beginning-ish, say February, March 2019, and I was doing a youth game, under 15s. And it had been a tetchy game, and one of the lads put a tackle in, and it clean broke the lower leg of this young lad. And he was on his back for about 20 minutes waiting for the ambulance to arrive. And the parents were all wound up because it was really like that end of the season. It was a game with a lot of pressure, a horrible injury that obviously had to abandon the game just because that's the right thing to do in that circumstance. And then that kind of played as I'm sure it does with a lot of referees when you get an injury of that sort of thing. Could I have done anything different to have prevented that injury of happening? And, you know, to kind of deal with that on yourself, yeah, sure, you could do that, but to be able to have someone to say, I'm sure you did everything you could. It's not like you were throwing in tackles and stuff like that, and accidents happen. It's part of the game. But that incident, having like Danny, my wife, to kind of sound off on and just reassure and support, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely better than having to kind of just carry that by yourself, or save it until you get to like an RA meeting or somewhere where you can talk to other refs and just be like, I had this incident. And then the other refs will say the same thing. But having some support at home as well, that immediate kind of when you fall off your bike, get back on the bike and then just carry on. So that's just one incident that kind of sticks out in my head. Just in that one, I actually refereed that team 2 weeks later as well. And I was asking about the lad, obviously, he was recovering and all that. But yeah, it's one of those things that even now, like a year and a half later, it's still kind of I can hear the bone snap. I was like 5 meters away from it, so I still think, could I have done anything different? But
yeah, it's interesting because a lot of managers, and there was a clip that was on Twitter about Neil Warnock shouting out, I think it was Dave Hutchinson was the liner, and he was going, you don't care, do you? You really don't care. You're gonna go away. You'll sleep well tonight. And I think any managers that are listening to this, or players, if you talk to referees and their wives and partners, and you'll see how it affects us if we miss something wrong. They just sleep. We sleep dead well. Personal experience, and lads I know and girls, you referee, it hurts when you know you've got something wrong. We see it on Twitter, a couple of days later that you've got a penalty wrong, or there's something. Players do need to understand, the managers, that we do hurt when we make fuck up. Yeah, things. You've only got. I know we mentioned Dermot's giving a bit of stick about calling Comical Ali last week on the other blog, but there was a really interesting report for PC did about. It was David Bust, wasn't it? Do you remember he broke his leg?
So this
the Blackburn Man United, mate.
I think it was Coventry Man United.
Coventry Man United, and he said he couldn't. It really affected him, and he couldn't go back to Man United, and he had a words with those who were running the game, and said, "Oh, don't send me back there." And then what we did, he sort of contrived a very late appointment to him. Told him on Friday you're going to go to this. So it is. And that's another small piece of evidence that we are generally concerned about the well-being of players.
I think it's it really links with obviously a lot of the work I do around sort of psychology of refereeing and things like that, where we look at the mentality. But what Ant's just described there really rings the bell for why I started the third team. Ultimately, I had a game where it was an under-16s or under-17s game. I can't quite recall now, and it was about 8 or 9-1. And we were coming in the final 10 minutes of the game, and I hear this shout, as if it's a shout for a foul, and I was blocked. So as soon as I became unblocked, I could see two players head to head, and one player then headbutts the other player, and as the victim is recoiling, like this. The attacker then comes back for a second one and really gives him a good left hook, and the victim is he's having a fit before he hits the floor, and so I'm there, I'm on my own, and I've got this mode where I'm looking and out basically in two directions. You've got the player who's just done it, who's walking away to the right into the pair of spectators, and you've got the player who's obviously on the floor on the left. Well, obviously, a natural reaction, the pair of spectators run towards the lad who is the victim of this. So I made my decision to go towards the guy who's done it, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a horrific assault. There's no other word to describe it, and so I need to make sure that, because I'm the responsible person here and everybody else has got a vested interest, that I get as many people out of the space, out of this area as possible. So I took the name of the player and did all the disciplinary side of that. We came back, an ambulance was called. The ambulance driver spoke to me and said, "Look, I think, you need to get the police involved here and I can escalate that for you." So I said, "Yeah, absolutely." By the time the police came, everybody else had gone, and I was the only one left. We had forensics out, and then we had. I had to go to the police station to basically give the full statement of what happened. And then the player who obviously carried it out was arrested, and the other player was taken to hospital and had to have sort of brain scans and all sorts of terrible things that you wouldn't wish on anybody. And you know, I'm there and I'm thinking, this is an unbelievable thing, but the adrenaline was getting me through, so it didn't hit me. And then, you know, the other thing I'm thinking is, well, this could finish off the career of a sort of a more inexperienced referee who's maybe just started, you know, and this kind of thing's happening with youngsters as well. It's not just happening with sort of, it's not like a Sunday morning adult thing. This is youngsters. And anyway, you know, obviously all that happened and the adrenaline got me through the day. And then the following 2 days for me were hellish, really, really awful. I was having flashbacks and all sorts. And, you know, I'd been refereeing for 3 or 4 seasons at this point, and I'd never experienced anything like that before, where, you know, I'd seen difficult situations, I'd handled difficult situations within matches, but I'd never, ever, ever had flashbacks to incidents that happened within games where it would catch me in a moment where I wasn't, you know, thinking consciously. So I definitely can get on board with what you're saying there, and I think it's something that really, really needs to be sort of impressed upon people that, you know, as referees, when we have harrowing situations like the one with Dermot at the top level, but like what you have with me on a grassroots level, it doesn't matter what stage it's on. It really, really can affect us. You know, it was a very, very difficult time, me obviously being involved in that, and then the police investigation then went on, and then obviously it was some months after the end of the criminal proceedings that the FA could then take action as well. And, you know, I don't think that, I'm not to think that the FA particularly took the right course of action on that. But
how old were you at the time, just out of curiosity?
I think I would have been 20.
See, that's for having to deal with something of that magnitude at that age, and I'm going to assume with very little support from the RA or FA.
What happened was, I hadn't joined the RA at that point. Okay, and I don't know if either of you two know Jeff Russell, who used to be the RDO at Durham. But he was leaving the role. He was retiring, and basically decided to use all of his holiday before he retired. So he wasn't working at the time of the incident. And Jeff's an absolutely wonderful man. Honestly, you couldn't wish for a better RDO, particularly when I was, you know, taking my qualification. He pushed me really well, and he gave me so much encouragement, and he was brilliant for me. And it just happened to be bad timing, and unfortunately, you know, and I've got a bit of sympathy. The chief executive of the county FA, who's obviously got a lot of things going on, it's a big job, he wasn't necessarily engaged in referee welfare. And I actually ended up having to ring him to say, look, this is a really bad situation. And, you know, he'd given me no acknowledgement. And normally the RDO would be wonderful, and he'd bring you up and say, you know, how are you doing and all that. And it just, and I didn't have a network of other referees, you know, where I could talk to them or anything. I didn't have any real support. I hadn't joined the RA. I didn't know anything about, you know, things like ref support. I didn't know anything about anything like that. I was kind of in my own bubble as a referee, really, apart from the relationship I had with the FA and the development I was doing then. So yeah, for me, it was a really tough time because unfortunately it was one of those things where I fell through the cracks of support. And I was left to kind of deal with it on my own.
Yeah, those cracks are quite big, aren't they? And it's, you know, it's something that we're trying to close those gaps. And in fairness to Mark Howes at the FA, he definitely has closed a few of those cracks. And even we discussed it last week. He announced that advice and support at the new referees course. They'll bring in, you know, discipline process and make people aware of what you've got to go through the discipline process and the actual process of the discipline hearing. Because we've always wanted that in the new referees course, because you just don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. You don't know if what's happened to you is normal. And when people aren't doing it as well as they could, then you've got a data to say, well, actually, in the referees course, you said X, Y, Z should happen and it hasn't. And I think the FA archives in particular, bringing that in is a really forward-thinking move that help people like yourself who've been in that position in the past.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember back. I mean, I think I qualified as a referee in something like 2003. So this is going back a while ago. But my brother, who was 14 at the time, qualified the exact same time. And he was 14, I was 19. And we had our first handful of games. And we'd been given some quality instruction by a guy called Jack Blakemore and the team up in Cheshire FA. And but once you got your qualification, you were just kind of let loose into the world of refereeing. You were given maybe the contact details of a few secretaries. And then it was like, there you go, out into the wild. And my brother didn't even last. Say we got it in like February, the qualification. He was doing the youth tournaments by the summer. So the summer youth tournaments, anything from under 5s to under 15s, small-sided football, but they get the tournaments all done in a day. And so the experienced referees would turn up. Everyone gets paid the same, so it's 50 quid for a day. But if you just do the group stages and then go, you'll finish by maybe 1, 2 o'clock, and then all the quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals all take place the rest of the day. And it turned out that all of the referees that had done it before and were like experienced had done that. They've turned up, refereed the group games, and off they went. And so it left all these youth, inexperienced referees, freshly qualified, to do these high-pressure games. And there was no one, apart from the tournament organisers, there to kind of assist. And I remember my brother it must have been like an under-8s final. And there was nothing to it. It's just a fun family day out, in theory. But he got so much stick and abuse from doing that. My mum actually watched that game. I was off refereeing a different final on a different pitch. But the amount of stick he got, and they could all see he was a 14-year-old kid refereeing this game for the 8-year-olds. They didn't care. They unloaded on him. And at the end of that, he was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not worth it. So, I mean, even though there is a support network, a loose support network in the terms of the FA and the RA, it's things like that where you will just go and do something like that as a young, inexperienced referee and be very quickly exposed to those harsh realities that maybe with a mentor or someone like that you're exposed to slowly and gradually and with some on-field support rather than 17 years ago. Go out, referee your games, and maybe you'll do some more and you'll get a thick skin, or maybe you won't. I'd like to think that modern referees do actually get a little bit more support once they've qualified. But I also suspect that in some parts of the country, it's still like it was 17 years ago for me and my brother. And that just shouldn't be happening these days.
No, I agree. There's lots about safeguarding the players at these tournaments. Loads of them. All the clubs have designated safeguarding officers and procedures and processes for their players. But there's no safeguarding at those tournaments for the referees. It's a huge, huge hole in the system of safeguarding, because if the parents isn't there, and some parents would be guilty, even Kerry, our parental officer we talked about, she's very conscious that she doesn't just drop her boy off and go shopping. She stays there and she safeguards her son. A lot of people will use those tournaments as a babysitting service that the son or the daughter's getting paid for, and they go out for the day and leave the kids there to referee. And that happens a lot. It's huge safeguarding, and I'm not sure there's any guidance on that. Maybe I don't know if you've seen it. Any guidance on like whether you can drop your 16, 15-year-old son or daughter off to referee at tournaments, and then you do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but I do know that certainly when I did my first game, we had a mentor. I had a mentor, and we all had mentors. The group I qualified with, I think I qualified in about 2015, 2016. So we did all have mentors at that time, but that was also at the time when I think, like you say, obviously we know that there's been a lot of work happening in the last few months to really change the attitudes towards hearings and things like that. And I've had a number of referees sort of get in contact with me and say, look, I've got a hearing coming up, what's the situation with this? And, I had some really, again, go back to Jeff Russell, who was wonderful for me when I first started. He gave me some wonderful advice. He rang me up and he said, look, you need to put a time collar on, just look a bit sharper and look as if you're professional about what you do and things like that, so that obviously, you cover yourself the best way you can. And I really do think that, that when you go into a hearing, you need to be a bit streetwise in terms of the way that you've refereed the game and the way that you describe what happened, because what I suppose nobody tells you, and although you should probably, you shouldn't have to think about tactics and this and that and the other, but you should really expect that, I suppose, is the people who are charged are going to try and make you look incompetent as a referee and make it look like it was your fault. So you need to be streetwise in terms of thinking, well, how can I close this off to make sure that there's absolutely no blame apportioned to me, and think about procedures and things. So there is that, and then obviously the fact that when I started, it was at a time when we were taught about how to write out reports. It was very just before the whole game system came in at the bottom, sort of for the bottom half of the, with grassroots referees and just qualifying. And so we got taught to write reports and things like that, and they were saying, we're hoping that this whole game system, we're developing it, and we're hoping it's going to really take off, and that we can change things with it. And I actually happen to think that has been a wonderful thing. It makes it a lot easier to do things. You've got names that you get on a drop down list and things like that. And I do think that they help with the disciplinary process, I must say. But I definitely think that one of the things that you must do, I think, as a young referee, is talk to the RDO if you feel that what's happened is not right, or if you feel that what's gone on in terms of the way that somebody's being charged and the way that it's coming across on you, for that guidance. Because at the end of the day, whilst I've never had an RDO actually sit in on a hearing, I do know that they give you very good preparatory advice, and certainly my RDO the first time it happened to me did give me good advice, and I think that it is important